let's dive right into Racer of the Year conversation. This was obviously, we're going to be a little bit time limited here. I believe we're going to have Tom Bailey, Drag Week superstar, Sick Week founder, joining us 15, 20 minutes. But let's briefly touch on a few of these things. Obviously, the one that is getting will likely get the most talk and discussion is our Racer of the Year award. We had 5 nominees. I will preface this by saying we put together a very concise, what we believe to be an extremely significant nominee committee. And this group of people threw names into the hat. Then we had a secondary selection committee that did the hard work of drilling down on each one of these nominees and ultimately making our decisions, some of which are still up for debate, some of which are still up for grabs. But our Racer of the Year nominees include Ryan Martin, No Prep Kings superstar, NHRA Pro Stock legend Greg Anderson, PDRA Pro Boost standout Todd Tutterow, Top Fuel ace Steve Torrance, and Pro Stock motorcycle champion Matt Smith. Guys, do you feel as good as I do about that eclectic mix of drag racing, big names, and superstars?
Absolutely. And it's great that they come from all walks of racing.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to gravitate toward the NHRA stuff. I think that that's the default. We look to that. We look to someone like Greg Anderson, who won a championship, setting records. Matt Smith doing the same. Steve Torrance just completely dominant. And it's easy to throw those guys in there, obviously, for what they've done, and we've honored them with this. But then you got to look outside the box a little bit and look at Todd Tutterow, Ryan Martin, some guys, some real door slammer stalwarts, I would like to call them, especially Todd Tutterow. They're still out there doing it and making waves. So I feel good. I feel like each one of these guys are just hardcore, best of the best drag racers.
There's no doubt in my mind. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. And I mean, and there, honestly, I believe there's the funnest thing about this stuff is also some of the most challenging things is that people get left out. People, you weigh, that's part of the drama. That's part of the magic of these type of lists and these award shows. If there's inevitably someone that's going to get left out in the cold. We were identifying earlier this week, one of a key moment that had happened in the sport of drag racing in 2021 that we kind of spaced. It happened early in the season. All sorts of things happen throughout the racing season. And it's very it's seasonal, right? You've got all those early season record setting runs when the air's good and people's equipment is fresh and everybody's like wound up and excited. Then you have the throes of summer where you don't see as much of that and things kind of calm down. And it's more about focusing on consistency than long ball hitting. Then we roll into the fall and winter where it's back to record setting season, as we kind of call it. So there was a handful of things that happened early in 2021 that admittedly, hand to God, I mean, I think that we kind of overlooked, unfortunately, but we also are here to wear it, right? I mean, don't you think that's part of the magic that comes from this? Like, hey man, we're I think miss a couple things.
Yeah. And we've done some of those things, some of the ones that we've heard about already. We've done features on them. We've had them on the cover. We've had them in major features in the magazine. So there's rarely something that we completely miss, but when we're putting together these awards, maybe there were a couple that definitely could have been included, but it's good to get that feedback. And it's exciting to have that passion behind it. We're passionate about these nominees. And, if you feel like we left someone out, we're glad to hear that. But I've seen a couple of comments that are any of these awards fan voted. They actually aren't. And we did that intentionally.
I'm not saying that that's something that we won't consider in the future. It's something, I had a couple of questions about that this morning. And I do think it's something that we could either introduce a category that was either completely voted on by fans,
I think
or add that element to all of them. However, I do think that the significance, the heft, comes from knowing that like a group of people sat down in a room and made these decisions, picked these people, hashed it out.
And we have a fan voted essentially awards as far as the DI 30 under 30. We have plenty
of voted though either.
Well,
public nominations.
Public nominations. So, it's something that we'll include. But in order to kind of get this thing rolling and get it produced and out there for the first year, this is what we're rolling with. But I feel like we do a ton of stuff that includes interaction with you guys. So look for that to come and look for other things we're going to be adding along the way.
I'm telling you, man, I genuinely think that this this Racer of the Year award, and for those that don't know, the winner of this award, part of the significance of this is we're working on some badass trophies and all those type of things and all that type of stuff. However, you're going on the cover of the magazine. That is the real significance of this deal. Is the winner of our Racer of the Year award will go on the cover of Drag Illustrated magazine, our annual Racer of the Year issue. I'm genuinely excited about it. And what's cool is I can make a hell of an argument for Ryan Martin, Greg Anderson, Todd Tutterow, Steve Torrance, and Matt Smith. I mean, everyone
and others,
and a host of others.
Yeah,
and a host of others.
10 or 15 more. There's so many of these guys could fit into multiple categories too. I mean,
I'm genuinely excited about some of these other categories, like Sportsman Racer of the Year, Outlaw Racer of the Year. It was tough to even pick
the categories. The really categories alone, because we probably had double the amount of categories that we ended up.
I think we had 27 when we started.
Yeah, and we had to really narrow it down because there's just drag racing is so broad. There's so many
down
different
wormhole,
things.
Or rabbit hole, I guess.
Well, and we're as a sport historically, right? We have this situation where we very frequently just drill down to
too deep,
where it's like, because I found myself as I was riding my Peloton with my little plastic Lexan desk, on my Peloton, my wife's Peloton.
No, it's yours.
It's yours.
Mine. Yeah. I'm banging out all these ideas, and I'm going, all right. Award for the quickest small tire, off blue Ford Mustang.
Like making a class for a car instead of
that's what we preach all the time on here is that we're more quick to make a class for one car than we are to make that one car fit into an existing class. We actually ran into that with these awards. We were drilling down too much, and we stopped and said, it's going to be much cooler to have an award that really covers the whole sport, so that you can look at Racer of the Year or some of these other awards and say, wow, that group of guys or girls would never be there in that same group in any other award, because we're too quick to segment them. And they're usually segmented in everything else that we're doing, but to kind of lump them all in, it makes it more exciting, in my opinion. And that's something that we like to do with everything. We do it with the 30 under 30. We do it with almost everything. As far as who we cover, 1 month we've got John Force on the cover. The next month we've got
Lyle Barnett.
Barnett. I mean,
next month
we're just
Angie
running
Smith,
the gamut,
right? And I think that's I really point to that as having been the secret sauce for all these years that we've been doing this dance, guys. That bringing this group of people together and not being afraid to have that mishmash, right? This crazy cornucopia of drag racing people. Like, I love, in my opinion, where else are you going to see that particular collection of names together, right? Ryan Martin and Greg Anderson and Todd Tutterow and Steve Torrance and Matt Smith mentioned in the same sentence, right? Mentioned in the same breath. I don't know that exists anywhere else in drag racing. And that's what makes it special, right? Because the name value of a Ryan Martin or the name value of a Steve Torrance, I mean, what's that do for Todd Tutterow, right? I mean, this is a guy who's racing PDRA Pro Boost. He's doing some of these outlaw races, but he's being mentioned in the same conversation, right? He's part of a discussion revolving around some of the biggest stars our sport has to offer, right? I mean, it's a really interesting thing. And I go down the list here. Racer of the Year.
Just run through all of them, really, from top to bottom.
Yeah,
and you'll see that collection. Even Sportsman Racer of the Year.
Yeah, Sportsman Racer of the Year. We had a couple of fun ones in here. Breakout Racer of the Year. There are a lot of people, in my opinion, that could have been nominated for this award. It feels like, for all the talk about, we need to grow, and there's a lot of fresh faces in the sport of drag racing. I mean, there are a lot of new people coming. It's a very exciting time for our sport. So Breakout Racer of the Year, another really fun one. It was a little NHRA heavy, admittedly. Lyle Barnett in NHRA Pro Mod, Kyle Koretsky in NHRA Pro Stock, Dallas Glenn in NHRA Pro Stock, Josh Hart in NHRA Top Fuel, and Justin Swanstrom in Street Outlaws No Prep Kings competition. Pass of the Year. I think this is a really fun thing where whenever I was coming up with that particular category, I told you guys that I wanted it to be really hyper-focused on a singular performance. It couldn't be, I didn't need it to be about the competition aspect. I wanted an ET or a mile per hour attached to it. Like, let's have this be an award that is really sharply focused on individual performances. Brittany Force's 363 at 335 last October at the Texas Fall Nationals right down here in Dallas. Todd Tutterow's 358 at 211 miles per hour at the U.S. Street Nationals. Daniel Ferris, this was a bit of a shot heard around the world, the 349 in Radial versus the World. Manny Bajinga's 575 and Pro 275. John DeFlorian's 4 flat, 4.000 in Extreme Pro Stock competition at the PDRA, I believe, World Finals at the Virginia Motorsports Park. That's another great example of all these different things from different walks of the drag racing life. We got 1,000-foot racing on there, quarter-mile racing on there, eighth-mile racing on there, outlaw stuff, Top Fuel. Very excited about that. Race of the year. This is another fun category. Crew of the year. This was our effort, in my opinion, to make sure that we are identifying the men and women behind the scenes, the offensive line, right?
Yeah. What about moment of the year and rivalry of the year? I think these are two very exciting categories.
I do too. We skipped over, what was it? Okay, we got the Crew of the Year, John Force Showmanship Award. I think this is a really cool one.
I didn't know we were going in order.
Yeah, no, you're good. I was just going to make sure that I didn't miss
highlighting.
Tuner of the Year. This was almost Crew Chief of the Year, but we thought the new term is tuner. We just felt like that was a more fun, kind of more something that would stand out a little bit more, in my opinion. We talked about Pass of the Year, Race of the Year, Crew of the Year. Tuner of the Year, special award to ambassadors of the sport of drag racing. That was a fun one, right, guys? PRI show, the performance racing industry's Dr. Jamie Meyer nominated, as well as Brian Loans from NHRA and Fox and the NHRA. Top Fuel superstar Clay Milliken, newfound NHRA funny car team owner / driver Ron Capps, and Sam Corcus from Pilgrim Studios / Discovery Channel. We got Promoter of the Year. We're going to be joined by one of our Promoter of the Year nominees here in just a minute, the one and only Andy Carter from Texas Motorplex, as well as Victor Alvarez from Bradenton Motorsports Park, PDRA's Tyler Crossnow, Bill Bader Jr. out there at Summit Motorsports Park in Norwalk, Ohio. Again, Sam Corcus. Man, Sam got what, three nominations? Track of the Year, Texas Motorplex, Bradenton, Summit, Virginia Motorsports Park, Bandamere Speedway. Moment of the Year, as you mentioned, Mike. Why don't you roll through these ones? These are we labored over this one. This was a tough one, man.
This was tough, and rivalry of the year. But moment of the year, we had Bruno Massel versus Mason McGahey staging duel at Topeka. Lyle Barnett wins an NHRA Pro Mod at Dallas, and then later in Vegas as well. Justin Kirk wins an Extreme Pro Stock at Bowling Green, driving the Buck Brothers machine. We had special mention. Big moment. John and Brittany Force win together at Topeka. First father-daughter.
That was another one that almost slipped through the cracks, right? Yep. Because I had kind of spaced that. Yeah.
Troy Coughlin Jr. defeats Greg Anderson at Las Vegas to open up the championship hunt at the last two races. Lost my place here. Here we go. JR Todd's throttle whack at Indy.
I think that might, I don't know.
That was like an under the radar moment of badassery that if you knew what you were watching, you're like, holy shit, did he just do that? But
it was, I can't remember. I deleted all of our notes from this, so I didn't give anything away. So I went through and changed all the formatting and deleted all the notes and all the little things.
We'll just give this away if we're not careful.
And I was looking at it and I go, shoot, I almost forgot about that JR Todd throttle whack. That needs to win. I don't know if it's going to win. I can't remember who won that category if we've decided yet. Rivalry of the year. We felt, to be honest, and I think we can talk, be transparent about this. We felt like we were kind of forcing this one a little bit. We're like, man, if no one else is going to stir up rivalries, if no one else is going to talk about this, I guess we're going to have to.
Well, sadly,
we'll do it.
Sadly, you would think that this would be just chock full and easy to fill with nominations.
But it's not.
But it was kind of hard. And this is a reflection on the state of the sport. And this is why we need more rivalries.
It is, man. We basically came up with, at least 5 nominees for every category. But Matt Smith Racing versus the Vance and Hines, kind of the different bike manufacturers and all the rule hubbub and drama. And it's been a very interesting thing for a long time. John Force versus Matt Hagan. We saw those guys get heated toward the end of last year. I can't remember exactly where that happened. Might have been Denver. Where was it, Mike? I can't remember totally.
It was wasn't there 4 or 5 races left?
Yeah. They got a little salty, which I thought was pretty interesting. Stan Waxberg in the comments is actually throwing one out that we almost nominated, which was Stevie Fast Jackson versus the television racing contingent. Because, however, for us, it looked a little more in our opinion, it felt like a long ways away from like an on-track rivalry. We wanted it to have at least some component of
And
on-track.
most of these, I would say almost all of them are one single person. We're trying to bestow these awards onto a person, not like a group or a entire class or whatever. So it was hard to kind of nail it down to individual people as well.
Yeah, and I'm actually, while I'm saying this out loud, Mike, I'm kind of going, we're going to have to give trophies to, I guess, both parties, right? Because if you're involved in the rivalry, there's going to be like 2 winners essentially on each one of these, you know? So it's kind of a cool concept. But
they can come on stage and fight it out.
Yeah, man, we're going to have a fight to the death.
Yeah.
We're going to fight to the death immediately following the broadcast of the Drag Illustrated Awards.
Those guys may just get a digital award if we're in case we're running out of budget.
Yeah, we're running low on trophy budget.
It's like getting a digital birthday card or
PDF
something
you can put on your Facebook page.
Exactly.
Print this yourself.
Print this. Make sure you do it high quality.
Run down to Hobby Lobby, get you a frame.
It's so funny, man.
Venmo you $5.
What did you get? We also had Jim Halsey versus Tommy Franklin, a real PDRA pro nitrous heavyweights deal, which I think is definitely in the running. This is I've just kind of am about to argue with myself. Stan Waxberg, the obvious one, KB Racing versus Elite Motorsports in pro stock. It's been going on for a decade.
Man,
crazy
rivalry.
I
didn't know there was a rivalry.
They're best of friends, thick as thieves, you know. But a very fun one to have watched unfold all these years. And then the final nomination was Justin Swanstrom versus essentially everyone on Street Outlaws. I don't know that he didn't have T-Max. Yeah, he pretty much had a rift.
And maybe sometimes them too.
Yeah. I think he ended up with a rift with everyone throughout the season. Social media influencer of the year, Swanstrom again, man, we gave him some love. Alex Taylor, Clay Millican, Leah Pruitt, Alex Laughlin, definitely, in my opinion, all people that are really harnessing the power of social media right now. And as I go through that whole list, man, what I said to kind of get the show started is that we recognize the grind. We recognize the challenges that exist here in the sport of drag racing. How crazy is it after all that he's done, especially the last few years, that Stevie Fast Jackson, right? 2021 was a little hard on Stevie Fast. You know what I mean? Like, had some success, no doubt about it, right? I mean, but if you think about it, 2 years ago, I think he'd be nominated like for almost all this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we've got him for the John Force Showmanship Award, which is another exciting one. I think we may have missed that one. Scott Palmer, Alex Laughlin, Stevie Fast Jackson, Matt Hagan, and Lyle Barnett. Wes, what was our kind of criteria for the Showmanship Award?
Man, this one's near and dear my heart, to be honest with you guys. First and foremost, we named it after John Force and are kind of giving this award in his honor. And when I think of John Force, I think of a showman, right? I think of not only an ambassador to the sport of drag racing, which he most certainly is, but he is a showman.
And we're working on getting John to present this award.
Yeah, and I think that's actually going to happen. Yeah, the plan is for John. I'm
putting it out there to where they feel obligated that they have to do it.
Good job.
We put it out there to the world.
But it's more than it's recognizing the value of putting on a show and the responsibility that exists. That, yeah, man, the competition and all these things, I think it goes without saying all those things have to exist, but it's going that extra mile. It's guys, working with fans. It's guys doing the big, crazy, smoky burnouts, right? Backing up faster, maybe backing up especially slow, working the ropes, right? Giving the big, crazy, opinionated, energized interviews pre and post race, right? I think of Scott Palmer, the throttle wax, you know what I mean? The nitro margarita mixer, all those things
kind of funny
really make a difference.
Scott Palmer and Alex Laughlin on there together, like they're working together now. I mean,
they are working together now. Yeah. And, I think of all that Stevie Fast Jackson did in 2021 for his fans, all these new videos, created a bunch of content. He's always the guy giving stuff away in the pits, sticking kids in the car. There's all sorts of Matt Hagan. I really think we talked about this midsummer last year that I really feel like we saw, it's hard to say Matt had a breakout 2021, right? He didn't ultimately win the championship. He's already won it 3 times. But I think as a star, in my opinion, we really saw Matt kind of come out of his shell.
I feel like Matt was one of the few willing to show some emotion and to draw a line in the sand with John Force and fist bump or pumping his fists and rocking that car
grabbing
so
the camera
hard.
and whipping
Yeah,
the wheel, all these
the
things
car shaking as he's
to let us
turning around the
know
corner.
how much he means it, right? And how much this
Yeah.
stuff means to him. Lyle Barnett, I mean, we all the things that Lyle has done to raise awareness for burn victims, raise money, having told his story, the way he's connected with people, the following that he has, driving anything, doing
and the cover that we just did, that
Right.
kind of
Yes.
encapsulates that, standing on top of his car, finger
with
in
a
the
Yingling
air,
in his hand.
with the
Yeah.
beer in his hand.
competition, doing the
Yeah.
Stone Cold on top of the car. I mean,
All
this
those
guy's putting on a
things.
show, and he gets it.
So significant, man. And I just honestly, I think that's one of the awards that, again, I really just want to pour as much
here's one we
fuel on
missed.
as we possibly can.
Winners
man.
Racing promo girls.
Yeah.
That's another one.
That's
Doug's
another one.
right. That's another one, man. There's just, and honestly, here's the thing. We could have probably come up with 75 nominees for every one of these categories. But the way that you make it significant is you keep it exclusive, you keep the circle tight, you keep the nominees, those lists short. And over the course of time, more and more people get put into those conversations, right? Or more and more people get to have their moment in the sun, their 15 minutes of fame, right? Genuinely excited about this deal. Blown away by the feedback. Mike, I know your phone was melting down yesterday, as was mine, getting texts and appreciative little things and couple butt chewings, if you will. But man, I'm jacked up. You can probably tell. Like I just feel like this is the next big thing we're doing, right? I mean, it's this stuff. Drag racers deserve it. Our industry deserves this. Our community deserves it. This group of people deserve it. They deserve to be recognized. They deserve to be highlighted. They deserve to have their efforts validated. And I'm so freaking excited about it, guys.
It's exciting to use this platform that we've created.
Put it to work, right?
Put it to work. And how many awards banquets have we been to? Like for each individual sanctioning body or each series. They're all great, but they're obviously just honoring the people that race with them. This is covering the whole sport of drag racing. It's like the sports awards banquet. So, I'm really excited about it, and hope you guys will join us. Let's throw that the time and the date and time up.
Yeah, I'll throw that up here one more time, JT. I'm on it, big dog. The biggest show, the biggest award show in drag racing coming up. The DI Awards will be live Thursday, February 3rd, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Be sure to